The series of clips and overviews you are about to watch are not by any means meant to be all-inclusive. These are simple and basic things meant for any tournament director in order to run their tournament effectively and efficiently. I do not claim myself to be a tabroom.com tournament master by any means, but these are simply things that I have found and made use of during my time this 2020-21 season as a virtual tournament director. Please make use of any and all resources that might cover things I miss, and I hope that you will have a very well-run tournament. In this next segment, we're going to look at what to check on when it comes to competitor registration for your tournament. So looking at the tournament that we have going on this Thursday, that of forensics, if I go over to reports and click on this tab, Unlinked Students, we can see that all of these students in association with their schools currently do not have a tabroom.com account. Why this matters is because if you are going to be using some type of service where there's no way to share a link ahead of time, they will not be able to get in. You may be able to share a Zoom link with the coach that can then be shared with the students, but there also is the fact that they will not receive ballots. They will not be able to see what the judges have written or posted about their performances. So you will need to rectify this by contacting the coaches directly, which is listed here under the contact email. Simply letting them know what student is missing an account and including directions for how to do so. After having sent out the directions for how to link student accounts in Tabroom, check back after a day or two. So ideally, this should be done not the day before a tournament, but a few days before the tournament, so that way there is time to take care of this. In this segment, we're going to looking at force adding an account for competitors. Looking at unlinked judges, it was shown how you could potentially add in an email address for a judge's account if it was not already done so. But with competitors, there's a way to do this as well. Going to the tournament that is taking place this Thursday for forensics, again, as a refresher, if we look at reports and click on unlinked students, we can see those that are not currently connected. Using this one from Luray High School, we'll go ahead and make an example by going down to data, clicking on linked students, and then we could, going down, if we had an account email for that student, put it in. Of course, if they've not created an account, this will not actually link them. But for any reason, if there are issues in terms of students creating an account and having it linked, it may become necessary for the tournament director to go through this process to put in the email address of the student to connect their accounts. They must have a tabroom.com account in order for this to work. You must also have the email address provided by the coach in order to do so. Okay, in this short segment, what we're going to look at is a particular issue that you may come across in running your tournament that you need to be made aware of, so that way it doesn't become a problem on the day of the actual tournament. Logging into my Tabroom account, I'm going to go ahead and open up the tournament that is going to be my example. In this case, it is going to be the Catholic Forensics League second tournament, which is about to begin here in a little bit. If I pull up the skims for a particular event, in this case my example being public forum, and look at round 2, we're going to notice that there is a judge with an L by their name. Now, this is going to be something that you particularly want to look out for and pay attention, because if we hover over it, it lets us know that this particular judge, Maggie Johnson, has a Luddite alert. Obviously, the creators of Tabroom have a sense of humor. This judge is not linked for online ballots. Now, this is a major problem because this judge is essentially not a judge. They may be able to get into the Zoom, but if they don't have a Tabroom account created, they will not be able to access their ballots and therefore actually judge the round. So what you may want to consider doing is clicking on the judge to see what they are looking for here. Let's see. Okay, so this tells us what they were doing for this particular round. I'm going to go back and pull up my judges public forum, and we see that they're judging for Monticello. If we click on the judge here, we should get a breakdown with also what school they are, what they're judging. Notice there's an email here. We could try and see if maybe they just didn't have their account linked. And if we paste it in there and click link, we've got a warning. There was no email found. So it's possible they created a Tabroom account with a different email, but we just don't know. So you're going to want to email the judge directly, especially if there's an email available. In a lot of cases, there may not be an email listed for that judge. So what you would then need to do is find the coach and contact the coach directly, let them know that this judge can't actually judge since they're not linked. So again, after you have set up your tournament, you want to check to make sure if there are any L's by any names, because that's something you're going to want to rectify before the tournament actually gets underway. In this next segment, we're going to deal with something that we unfortunately have become accustomed to in the reality of tournaments, and that is dropping a competitor. Entering the tournament in which we had an unfortunate drop, the school must be pulled up in order to drop the student that is no longer able to compete. Simply marking yes makes it so that they're not going to be scheduled. If, however, they've already been scheduled to a round, that's going to involve actually deleting them out altogether. Because if they have already been paneled or paired in the case of debate, just because they've been dropped doesn't mean they won't show up on the ballot for their judge. So to remove them from the tournament completely, so that way they do not continue to show up on ballots or be scheduled, it's best to hit the trash can, which would delete the record of them from this tournament. It does not delete them permanently from their team's roster or from the tabroom.com website, but merely from this tournament. In this segment, we're going to look at contacting coaches and judges for a tournament with whatever information you may be needing to share. Looking at a tournament that's going to take place this coming Thursday, if I'm needing to share any important information, going to entries and going down to emails will allow me to construct an email. Here, your tournament Tabroom account will be linked, so that way emails may be sent back to whatever account you have registered with tabroom.com. This is my school account, and so emails that are responded to will be sent there directly. If I want to do all coaches, I simply select that. If I need to contact coaches in a particular event, such as duos, I can select those as well. If I'm needing to just contact judges, I can select the judges down there. In this email, you may treat it as any other email where you can put in links to things, such as necessary information. You may also select Do Not Post Email on the web, because emails that are sent out through this way will also be posted on your tournament webpage on tabroom.com that everybody in the whole wide world may see. So if you are sharing sensitive information, you may want to select this so that way people are not seeing things, such as a link to a private chat for judges and coaches only. In this next installment, we're going to look at switching a judge out of a particular event or round. For whatever reason, should there be a need, if you are needing to remove a judge, whether it's because there's a conflict in a later round or simply because they did not show and you're needing to make sure there's a replacement for them, simply opening up the event, clicking on the room to pull it up will show you the judge. You can easily remove them by clicking the trash can, which will remove them from the section but not the tournament. You want to look then at what judges are available to be able to put in, because you certainly don't want to leave a section without any type of judge. If you need to remove a judge permanently from the tournament, you're going to want to go to that judge, open them up, then actually take them out. Now in this case, looking at this, we could delete the judge altogether. But for any rounds that this judge has been put in, it will be removed and we'll need to go back and find those missing spots to plug in another judge. But as I've just shown you, it's rather easy to go ahead and open up an event and put in another judge. In this segment, we're going to look at a very necessary portion, especially for first-time users. It might help with your comfort level to know that you can back up your work as you go, just in case you worry about messing something up so bad that you need to go back in time to a previous save point. Most things you work on in a tournament are automatically saved. Sometimes you might have to select a particular button to indicate that it needs to be updated or saved, such as indicated here with the save. Anything I change, I would need to hit the save button in order to actually save those changes being made. I know it can sometimes be frustrating to change something, leave it, and then come back and see that it's not actually been changed because you didn't hit the save button. But it's necessary to make sure you don't make any accidental things. If you come to a point where you're really not sure what's going to happen next, and you really want to make sure that you can go back in time to how you had everything just before you underwent maybe paneling a tournament or pairing rounds or deleting everything, you can always go over to Entries, Data, Export tab room data, the entire tournament. You could do particular other things as well if you were going to mess with certain other individual things like one category or a judge category or a school's registration. But if you want to do everything, rooms, room assignments, any rounds you might have already paneled, all the settings you have, simply click here to download. You'll be prompted to download this particular file, which gives you the date and the time. You can see that I already had one previously downloaded as I went ahead and made some changes that I needed to be able to go back and undo if need be. Simply hitting save will download your tournament. If you mess something up and realize that it's too far gone, if you go to Entries, Data, Import tab room data, you can then choose the file to upload and it'll restore to that point. So don't worry about making any changes that can't be undone so long as you're saving your data at a point that you feel like everything is in a good place. And of course, most things can be undone in some way, shape, or form, and it never hurts to ask for help if you truly get stuck or feel like the tournament has been messed up in some irreparable way. In this segment, we are going to look at seeing which ballots are still outstanding from judges. We will also go over how to manually adjust ballots if need be. But I will warn you, this should only be necessary in emergency situations where perhaps a judge submitted and decided that they needed to correct something or there was some other error. Using VCFL2 that was recently completed, if we look at the schematics for Lincoln Douglas round 4, we can see that decisions have already been made. Here we have a line indicating that this judge has not yet turned in their ballot. We can also more easily see this if we go to tabbing and click on status. Here we have an overview of all the various events, and here we have an indication that there is one ballot in Lincoln Douglas that has not yet started. You could also break it down if you wanted to see specific areas, such as just speech or that of just debate. Clicking on started will show you, depending on what event you would like to look at, which ballots have already been started. This does not mean they have been completed, but simply that they have been started. Here we see that this judge has not even started their ballot yet. If we go over to entered, we can also see what all has been entered and not entered. In this case, the one judge that has not even started their ballot obviously has not entered theirs. Getting into a realm of whether or not to change a ballot depends on the necessary need for it. Going to the various areas, looking at those ballots that have not yet started or completed, will show us what all needs to be done. If we were to pick a particular event, say that of Dramatic Interp at the most recent tournament and go to tab, enter ballots. And then if we were to say, look at that of the first round of speech, here we can see that it's already completed. If we would like to audit, we may audit, but since we are not doing paper ballots, this is not necessary. Going over to points or done for our particular event will show us those judges that have completed their ballots. If I am needing, for whatever reason, to make a change, I can click on Force Edit Results once I click on that particular judge. This will show what they put in for ranks and speaker points and other comments. Again, this should only be done if it is an absolute need. The only instances in speech where this could be necessary would be that of if there was an unbalanced room and it was not accounted for. Of course, as was already shown in the setting up video, the way to make sure that judges can do multiples of the same rank would be to go under tabulation and make sure that there are rank ties allowed. If this is selected, which it should be for you automatically, then it's able to balance rooms when there's 6 competitors in one section and 5 in another. Simply inform your judges that they will need to do 2 5s in the room of 6 instead of 6. Again, editing ballots should not be something that is normally ever done, but now you've seen how to do it should you be needing to do so.
The purpose of this video is really more of a warning than anything else when it comes to looking at rounds being advanced. This is particular to debate when it comes to power pairing such as high-high and high-low. When you're looking at elimination rounds for speech or in debate, you're going to want to double check everything. But using a tournament that's already taken place, if we look at the schedule here, I'm looking at Lincoln Douglas primarily as my example for this. We've had 3 rounds. This tournament's already taken place. I just quickly added in a 4th round, which for Lincoln Douglas I have set to being high-high. I could make it high-low, an elimination round, what have you. For the purposes of this video and what I'm about to show you, I'm just going to simply stay high-high. Now, if I go to my Lincoln Douglas schematic and go to round 4, I'm going to clear this out. Let's go ahead and just erase this entire room because I want to show why it's important to double check when it comes to power pairings. So since you didn't see how that was initially set up, I'm going to go ahead and show you now. Let's go ahead and auto pair. And of course, when doing any kind of out rounds, you want to make sure all the ballots are in before doing so. Now, unfortunately, I've not been able to find a way to undo this, but in a true high-high, 3 and O's should not be going against 2 and 1s unless there is some great conflict. But as we notice here with 3 and O's, these are all different schools. The only 3 and O that is repeated is a John Hanley, and they're set against another team. So at the very least, we could have Fort Defiance against Harrisonburg and Mechanicsville versus this John Hanley. And these 2 and 1s should be going against 2 and 1s. So this is going to be a case where you're going to have to end up manually pairing throughout this particular power paired round. Eliminations hopefully would go much better, but I think it's important to show you the dangers of over-trusting the software in this case, because if you have a coach or anyone who sees what's going on with this, it would be a very valid reason to lodge a protest or contest the results when they were not paired in the truest form possible. So what you're going to have to do as a tournament director is make use of the following report. This may be mentioned in another segment, but this case it's going to be particularly helpful to do a debate packet for Lincoln Douglas. And when you pull that up, you can then see brackets as they are listed. So I know it seems a little antiquated to be making use of paper and pencil, but when the software lets us down like this, you're going to have to go through and manually set them. So printing this off or having it open in another tab would be good, And then going back to the round that we are making use of as an example, we'll erase the round. And manually pair. Now, what is helpful is the fact that they do show you the 3 and O's, the 2 and 1s, the 1 and 2s, the 0 and 3s. However, in order to be a power paired, it's not just a matter of bracket, it's also a matter of what their total points have been. So that's why I showed you how to pull up the packet results, which you may want to have open in a different tab and take notes so that way you can pair them appropriately. I have no way of knowing if this is a good power pairing or not. I'm simply just going to use this as an example. And save the debate. Once you have set all the rounds or all the pairings for this particular round, you can go ahead and publish for all to see and blast it out for all those as well. But again, the purpose for this video is merely to demonstrate why you want to be very careful when it comes to power paired rounds. And of course, when setting any kind of finals or elimination rounds, you're going to want to double check through packet results or looking at the results as well to see how it looks when it comes to what folks should have as their final standings.
In this segment, we're going to looking at publishing packets for debate results. This is particularly useful for policy, Lincoln Douglas, and public forum, as it is good to be able to review the round-by-round results. Using a tournament that just wrapped up this past weekend, that of VCFL2, if we go over to results, click on reports, and then go down to debate packets, all debate events are already selected. If you would like to just focus on one particular one, you may, but this will produce a PDF that has all the debates listed on it. So if we leave it on all debate events and click print, we now have a PDF that shows the packet results. Coaches and competitors may be particularly interested in this when it comes to seeing a breakdown of round by round. Now that your tournament is over and everything is said and done, it's time to go ahead and publish results. Using a tournament as an example that was completed this past weekend, VCFL2, I will go over to the Results tab and go to Web Publish. If I would like to see the results myself beforehand, I may do Event Display, but since this is simply about publishing those results, I will focus on that. In this case, we can see that other events have already been published, such as public forum and various speech events. For this, I'm going to use the example of Lincoln Douglas. Final places is only going to be something used if you were to do break rounds, such as semis, quarters, finals, anything of that nature. For most tournaments, you're simply going to go with preliminary seeds. Click Publish and Calculate. Notice that it is available to the public, which I will show in a second concerning the tournament website. So that coaches may see the final standings, you simply need to click this to selecting yes. Something that may also be important to consider when looking at publishing results is sharing those ballots with everyone involved. Going over to paneling and selecting Web Publish, and then opening up the event. Now, at the onset of the tournament, the results, secondary results, and feedback were selected as no, so that way competitors could not see their ballots in real time as they were being published. Now that the tournament is over, we may go ahead and select E and T, which would indicate that this is going to be visible for coaches and competitors. This way, coaches and competitors may see the ballots, comments, reasons for decisions for all 4 of these rounds that took place. Now that you have done this, Lincoln Douglas is completely posted. To be able to see the results on the website, simply go to that tournament's website as listed there, and over on the results page, you can pull up whatever particular event you want to look at. Here, preliminary seeds will show us the order. with wins, total points,